Listen to me carefully, because what I'm about to tell you will flip everything you thought you knew about women, relationships, and power. There are 4 words women use right before they play you. 4 words that sound harmless, even caring, but in reality, they're the opening moves in a game designed to test how much control she has over you. And if you don't recognize them, you will lose yourself before you even realize you're being played. Most men walk blindly into this trap, and that's why they keep ending up in the same cycle, investing their time, their emotions, their energy, only to be left confused, questioning their worth, and wondering what went wrong. But the truth is, nothing went wrong. You just didn't see the game being played right in front of you. Here's the shocking part. It's not even about the woman, it's about you. It's about whether you can hear those words and stay centered, or whether you'll react with fear, neediness, and desperation. Because the man who reacts loses. But the man who stays calm, the man who can walk away with certainty, that's the man who flips the entire dynamic. And I promise you this, once you hear these 4 words and understand what they really mean, you will never look at a conversation the same way again. You will see the hidden psychology behind them, and you will know exactly how to respond with strength instead of weakness. So don't even think about clicking away, because if you've ever been played, if you've ever been strung along, or if you never want to be in that position again, the next few minutes might be the most important lesson you ever hear. This is the truth nobody else will dare to tell you. When I say that there are 4 words women use before they play you, most men immediately think I'm exaggerating, that I'm making something small into something big. But the truth is, language is never neutral in relationships. Words are symbols, they carry intention, and in intimate dynamics, they often act as veils that hide what a person is really thinking or planning. If you're not awake to that, if you just take words at face value, you will walk into traps again and again. What sounds like a simple sentence can actually be a carefully designed escape route or a test to measure your emotional weakness. That's why recognizing these phrases is not about paranoia, it's about awareness. It's about understanding that when someone says, "We're just friends," or "I'm not ready," or "You deserve better," or "Let's take a break," they're not merely communicating, they are positioning, they are preparing to shift the balance of power. Take "We're just friends." It sounds light, it sounds casual, but beneath it sits a calculation. It's rarely a pure declaration of boundaries. More often, it's a probe. She's watching your reaction. Do you get needy, defensive, desperate? Do you argue and try to prove that you're worth more than friendship? That reaction tells her everything she needs to know about how much power she has over you. If you panic when she frames you as just a friend, you've already told her you're willing to be downgraded. You're willing to accept crumbs. You're willing to fight for a place that was never fully offered. In that moment, you become predictable, and predictability is the first step to being controlled. Now, let's look at "I'm not ready." That phrase has fooled more men than almost anything else because it plays on your hope. Hope that if you're patient, if you're understanding, if you wait long enough, she will eventually choose you. But let me challenge you, what does "not ready" really mean? Life doesn't wait for anyone. People make time and space for what they truly value. So when she says she's not ready, what she's really saying is, "I'm not ready for you." It's not about timing, it's about priorities. And if you stick around, you're not honoring her needs. You're betraying your own, because readiness isn't some magical event that arrives one day. It's a choice, and the harsh truth is, if she wanted to choose you, she already would. Then comes the line, you deserve better. At first, it feels almost noble. It sounds as though she's protecting you, as though she's the one being selfless, but the psychology here is different. This phrase is a shield. It's designed to soften the blow of rejection while keeping her image intact. She doesn't want to look like the villain, so she phrases it as though she's doing you a favor. But hidden underneath is the reality. She has already emotionally checked out, or she has already chosen someone else. It's not about what you deserve, it's about what she desires. And when you hold on to the words instead of the reality, you blind yourself to the fact that she's already gone. Finally, let's take a break. On the surface, this seems like a plea for space, maybe even a path to healing. But psychologically, it's the most dangerous of the four because it creates an illusion of hope while putting you on the bench. A break is rarely a pause. It's an exit strategy disguised as compromise. What it really means is, I want the freedom to explore other options while keeping you as a backup plan. It's half a breakup, and men who accept it end up in emotional limbo, waiting for someone who's already living as if the relationship doesn't exist. The manipulation here is subtle but powerful. It asks you to keep investing while she divests. What ties all of these words together is one thing. They are tests of your awareness and your self-respect. If you accept them blindly, you send a loud message that you will settle for less than clarity, less than commitment, less than honesty. And when someone knows you'll settle, they no longer need to value you. But if you recognize them for what they are, if you see through the disguise and refuse to play the role written for you, you change the entire dynamic. Suddenly, you're not the man being played. You're the man who sees the game before it begins, and that is the power. To hear the words, to feel the weight of what they actually mean, and to choose your dignity over your desperation. That choice alone separates men who are used and discarded from men who are respected and pursued. So the next time you hear those four words, don't get caught in the sweetness of the tone or the softness of the delivery. Listen to the truth behind them, because once you learn to decode the language of manipulation, you'll never be played the same way again. And that awareness is not just protection, it's liberation. The second key point is perhaps the most difficult for many men to grasp because it goes directly against what they've been conditioned to believe. We are raised on the idea that relationships are built on compromise, on patience, on persistence. We're told that if we care enough, if we try hard enough, if we wait long enough, the other person will eventually see our worth and choose us. That belief is romantic on the surface, but destructive in practice, because when you apply it to someone who is manipulating you, you transform yourself from a partner into a servant. And nothing kills attraction faster than a man who is willing to shrink in order to stay. When you hear one of those four phrases, we're just friends, I'm not ready, you deserve better, or let's take a break, the natural impulse is to argue, to negotiate, to explain your side, to plead your case, to show why you are worth more than what she's offering. But that very reaction is exactly what gives her the power, because the moment you start debating, the moment you lean in to prove yourself, you've already accepted her frame. She has positioned you in a box and now you are fighting from inside of it. That is why I say, do not negotiate with manipulation. The more you talk, the weaker you look, the more you chase, the more disposable you become. Think about this from a psychological perspective. When someone tests your boundaries and you immediately try to bargain, What you are signaling is that your sense of worth depends on their approval. And people sense this. They may not articulate it, but they feel it. And when they feel it, respect begins to evaporate. Because respect is not born from how much you beg or how much you prove, it is born from how much you refuse to compromise your dignity. Consider this scenario. She tells you, "I'm not ready." Instead of nodding and walking away, you say, "Okay, I understand. I'll wait." What have you communicated? That your time has no value, that your standards are flexible, that you are willing to accept a half-hearted presence as long as it keeps you close to her. This is not patience, it's self-betrayal, because a man who truly respects himself does not wait around for someone who cannot or will not choose him. He doesn't argue about readiness, he doesn't cling to hope. He listens, he accepts the reality, and he moves forward without hesitation. The same is true with "let's take a break." Most men hear this and respond with negotiation. How long of a break? What rules do we have? Can we still talk? Do you see how absurd this becomes? You are now asking permission to remain in her orbit while she explores freedom. You are setting terms for your own devaluation. And the cruel irony is that the more agreeable you become, the less she desires you, because desire does not live in submission, it lives in strength. The temptation to negotiate comes from fear of loss, fear of abandonment, fear of being alone. But fear-based decisions are always expensive. When you let fear dictate your response, you give away control. And what you fail to realize is that walking away is not the end of your power. It is the beginning of it. Silence, distance, and certainty are not acts of cruelty, they are acts of self-respect. They communicate that you will not be toyed with, that you will not be held on stand by, that you value yourself too much to participate in someone else's indecision. There is also a deeper philosophical truth here. When you negotiate with manipulation, you are entering into a conversation where honesty is already absent. The words you are responding to are not genuine reflections of reality. They are strategies designed to test or control. And once you start reasoning with strategies instead of truths, you are no longer in a relationship, you are in a performance. You're the actor playing the loyal man, and she's the director rewriting the script as she pleases. You cannot win in that space. The only way to win is to refuse the role altogether. So what does it look like in practice? It looks like stillness instead of reaction. It looks like walking away instead of waiting. It looks like silence instead of endless explanation. It looks like valuing your own boundaries so fiercely that anyone who attempts to manipulate you realizes immediately that they cannot. And when you live like that, something powerful happens. People start showing up with honesty instead of games, because they know games don't work on you. The man who negotiates with manipulation loses himself. The man who refuses it finds himself. And in the end, that is the choice you must make every single time those 4 words are spoken to you. Will you trade your dignity for the illusion of closeness, or will you protect your dignity and in doing so, command the respect you deserve? The moment you stop chasing explanations and start demanding clarity through your actions, you shift the dynamic forever. And that is the truth you need to carry with you. The strongest answer to manipulation is no answer at all. There comes a moment in every man's life where he must decide if he is willing to be an option or if he will demand to be the choice. And this is where the third point becomes critical, because it is not enough to simply recognize the manipulative words, and it is not enough to avoid negotiating with them. The real transformation happens when you learn to flip the power by walking away. Most men think walking away is about punishment, about teaching her a lesson. But that is the wrong mindset. Walking away is not about her, it's about you. It is about reclaiming your self-respect, redefining your worth, and refusing to let anyone treat you as second best. The psychology behind this is simple but profound. Human beings value what they cannot control. When you allow yourself to be endlessly available, endlessly forgiving, endlessly patient, you become common. You become predictable. And in human relationships, what is predictable quickly becomes invisible. That is why so many men who give everything end up being abandoned, while the men who set boundaries end up being pursued. Because scarcity creates value and self-respect creates gravity. Now think about what happens when you refuse to walk away. You hear the words, "we're just friends," and you try to prove yourself. You hear, "I'm not ready," and you wait for months or even years. You hear, "you deserve better," and you cling to the hope that maybe she will change her mind. You hear, "let's take a break," and you agree, convincing yourself it's only temporary. What you are really doing in all these scenarios is announcing to her that she can have all the benefits of your presence without any of the responsibility of commitment. You're giving loyalty where there is no reciprocity, and the longer you do this, the more you teach her that you are safe to take for granted. But now imagine the opposite. Imagine that when she says, "let's take a break," you calmly respond with, "no, let's make it final," and you walk away. Imagine when she says, "I'm not ready." You smile and say, "then I'll find someone who is," and you cut contact. Imagine when she says, "you deserve better." You reply with, "you're right, and I'll go find it," and you move forward without hesitation. That energy is unforgettable. It's not cruel, it's not vengeful, it's clarity, and clarity is the one thing manipulation cannot survive. What makes walking away so powerful is that it destroys the illusion of control. Games are only effective when the other person plays along. But when you step out of the game completely, the entire structure collapses. She can no longer string you along. She can no longer test your boundaries because you've shown her that your boundaries are non-negotiable. And paradoxically, that is often the moment when true respect appears, because deep down, people may play with those who chase them, but they only respect those who don't need them. There is also a deeper philosophical element to this. Walking away is not just a relationship strategy, it's a way of living. It means you do not cling to anything that does not align with your values. It means you do not compromise your dignity for the illusion of connection. It means you understand that love without respect is not love, it's dependency, and dependency is the enemy of freedom. When you walk away from what diminishes you, you are not losing, you are liberating yourself. You are creating space for something greater, something authentic, something that meets you at the level of your worth. Men often fear that walking away will make them alone, but what they don't realize is that staying in manipulation is the loneliest place of all. Because there is nothing more isolating than being with someone who doesn't truly choose you. At least in solitude you are honest with yourself. At least in solitude you can rebuild. At least in solitude you are free, and freedom is always the foundation of power. So let me leave you with this truth. A man who can walk away is a man who cannot be controlled, and a man who cannot be controlled will always be respected, even by those who once tried to play him. Because in the end, the ability to leave what does not serve you is not just a skill, it is the essence of self-worth. When the moment comes, when those 4 words appear, remember this: your response will define who you are. Choose desperation, and you lose yourself. Choose dignity, and you find yourself. And once you've found yourself, no one can ever play you again.